Well folks, 2025 is off to a roaring start, and by roaring I mean plummeting faster than a pigeon trying to dodge a rogue baguette in Times Square. The new year has barely begun and already the economic forecast looks as bleak as a midwinter sky. The stock market is in freefall and consumer confidence is at an all-time low. It's as if the economy decided to take a nosedive just to keep things interesting. Remember those fireworks you saw on New Year's Eve? Turns out those weren't celebratory, they were distress signals from the US economy. The dazzling displays that lit up the sky were more like flares from a sinking ship, desperately trying to signal for help. As we toasted to new beginnings, the financial markets were already bracing for impact. The irony is almost poetic, isn't it? We celebrated the arrival of a new year, only to be greeted by the grim reality of an impending recession. China, in its infinite wisdom, has decided to spice things up in the Trade Department. Just when we thought the global trade landscape couldn't get any more complicated, our friends in Beijing have thrown a wrench into the works. Their latest maneuvers have sent shockwaves through international markets, leaving economists and policymakers scrambling to make sense of it all. It's like watching a high-stakes poker game where the rules keep changing, and the stakes are higher than ever. And by spice things up, I mean they've effectively thrown a bucket of ice water on the US economy, while simultaneously stealing our lunch money. The sudden and aggressive trade policies have left American businesses reeling, struggling to adapt to the new reality. It's a 1-2 punch that has caught many off guard, and the repercussions are being felt across the board. From small businesses to large corporations, everyone is feeling the squeeze. It seems 28 US companies including Lockheed Martin and Boeing Defense are now on China's naughty list. Their offense? Existing. These companies, which have long been pillars of the American industrial landscape, now find themselves in the crosshairs of a geopolitical showdown. The implications are far-reaching, affecting not just the companies themselves, but also their employees, suppliers, and the broader economy. It's a stark reminder of how interconnected our world has become, and how vulnerable we are to the whims of international politics. I mean, sure, there's some mumbo-jumbo about dual-use items and national security, but let's be real. This is about as subtle as a brick through a White House window. The official explanations may be wrapped in the language of security and regulation, but the underlying message is clear. This is a power play. It's a bold move that has left many wondering what the next chapter in this unfolding drama will bring. Will cooler heads prevail, or are we headed for an even more turbulent ride? It's a trade war, folks, and things are escalating faster than a game of Monopoly between a 5-year-old who just learned the word bankruptcy and a disgruntled cat. The stakes are high and the potential fallout is enormous. As tariffs and sanctions fly back and forth, the global economy hangs in the balance. It's a precarious situation that requires careful navigation, but so far it seems like we're all just along for the ride. Buckle up, America, this is going to be a bumpy year. You see, China's not just playing checkers anymore. They've moved on to 5-dimensional chess while we're still trying to figure out how pawns move. Their new export controls are like a carefully crafted economic pressure point, designed to inflict maximum pain with minimal effort. They're essentially holding vital components hostage, forcing US companies to choose between playing ball with China or watching their supply chains crumble faster than a fortune cookie in a hurricane. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. And if you thought things couldn't get any worse, hold on to your hats, folks, because Peter Schiff, the Eeyore of economics, has entered the chat. Known for his perpetually gloomy outlook on the economy, Schiff has made a name for himself by predicting financial disasters with an almost uncanny accuracy. His latest forecast is no different, and it's enough to send shivers down the spine of even the most optimistic investor. That's right, the man who predicted the 2008 financial crisis with the accuracy of a blindfolded squirrel finding a nut is back, and he's brought his trusty sidekick Doom with him. Schiff's predictions have often been dismissed as overly pessimistic, but his track record speaks for itself. He was one of the few who saw the housing bubble burst coming, and now he's sounding the alarm once again. According to Schiff, the US dollar is about to experience a crisis of epic proportions. Soaring prices? Check. Skyrocketing interest rates? Check. He warns that the Federal Reserve's policies are setting the stage for a perfect storm of economic turmoil. Schiff argues that the massive amounts of money being printed to stimulate the economy are devaluing the dollar, leading to inflation that could spiral out of control. An economy teetering on the brink of collapse? Check, check, check. Schiff paints a grim picture of a future where the dollar's value plummets. causing widespread financial instability. He predicts that this could lead to a loss of confidence in the US currency, triggering a global economic crisis. The stock market could crash, unemployment could soar, and the cost of living could become unbearable for many. It's enough to make you want to invest in canned goods and move to a yurt in the wilderness. Schiff's advice to those looking to protect their wealth? Consider investing in tangible assets like gold and silver, which he believes will hold their value better than paper currency in times of economic distress. While some may see his predictions as alarmist, others view them as a necessary wake-up call to prepare for potential financial upheaval. But wait, there's more. While the US economy is doing its best Titanic impression, China seems to be sailing along relatively unscathed. Goldman Sachs, those optimistic soothsayers of the financial world, are projecting a 4.5% GDP growth for China in 2025. Of course, it's not all sunshine and roses. US tariffs are still a thing, and they're expected to shave off a good chunk of China's GDP. It's a delicate balancing act, folks, and one wrong move could send the entire global economy into a tailspin. So, will the US economy survive 2025? As we approach the mid-2020s, the question on everyone's mind is whether the US economy can withstand the pressures mounting from various fronts. The stakes are high, and the roulette wheel of economic fortune is spinning faster than ever. Meanwhile, back in the land of the free and the home of the economically anxious, the dreaded R-word is being whispered in hushed tones. Offices are abuzz with speculation, and the tension is palpable. People are glued to their screens, anxiously refreshing news feeds and financial apps, hoping for some sign of stability. Statista, those purveyors of statistics and other terrifying data points, are giving the US economy a 33.56% chance of slipping into a recession by November 2025. This isn't just a number, it's a stark reminder of the fragility of our economic systems. Analysts are poring over data, trying to make sense of the trends and predict the future. And they're not alone. Economists and financial experts across the board are sounding alarms. Meetings are being held behind closed doors, and discussions are getting more intense. The consensus is clear, the risk is real, and the time to prepare is now. Investment executives, those beacons of financial wisdom, are also predicting a recession for both the US and Canada. Their reports are filled with charts and graphs that paint a grim picture. Financial news broadcasts are dedicating entire segments to this looming threat, dissecting every piece of data and offering advice on how to weather the storm. It seems the economic party is winding down and everyone's scrambling for the exits. The once booming market is showing signs of fatigue and the exuberance is fading. People are making tough decisions, cutting back on spending and bracing for what might come next. The question remains, will the US economy survive 2025, or are we on the brink of another financial downturn? Let's talk about the dollar's dwindling dominance, a crisis in the making. Adding fuel to the fire is the growing concern over the US dollar's global dominance. The Economic Times, those chroniclers of all things financial, are warning of a major dollar crisis that could send the US economy into a tailspin worthy of a Michael Bay film. Inflation is rearing its ugly head again, and the dollar is looking about as stable as a Jenga tower after a few too many rounds of tequila shots. Buckle up, America, it's going to be a bumpy ride. So where do we go from here? The Diplomat, those masters of understatement, put it best. The future of US-China trade relations is uncertain. New tariffs on Chinese imports are being slapped on like unwanted bumper stickers, and China's new tariff law is about as clear as mud wrestling in a dust storm. It's a delicate dance, folks, and one wrong step could send both economies tumbling to the floor in a tangled mess of broken promises and shattered dreams. But hey, at least US's exports are up, right? JP Morgan, those financial wizards, point out that while export volumes have increased, import volumes are lagging behind. Sounds great, right? Not so fast. This imbalance could trigger a domino effect, impacting everything from investment and employment to consumer confidence. It's like trying to bake a cake with only flour and no sugar. Sure, you technically have something, but it's not going to be pretty. And what about China? What are their plans for the future? East Asia Forum, those keen observers of all things China, suggest that we can expect more of the same in 2025. China's US policy, it seems, is like a fine wine. It only gets more perplexing with age. Improved relations could benefit both countries, but the risks are high, and the potential rewards seem about as substantial as a fortune cookie that says, you will experience mild indigestion. So, there you have it, folks. Did China just collapse the US economy with its new export controls? The answer, as with most things in life, is a resounding maybe. One thing's for sure though, 2025 is shaping up to be a wild ride. So buckle up, grab some popcorn, subscribe to my channel, and enjoy the show. Just don't blame me when the economy crashes and we're all forced to live in a post-apocalyptic wasteland ruled by sentient toasters. That's on you, China. That's on you.